Welcome, it's Louise here from Busy Mum Homestead, and I am just showing you here on my video my very first zucchini harvest for the season. I am so excited. This was grown in a little pot, and this is my very first thing that I have produced in my garden this year. I got all of these into the pots very late. We live in Southern Australia in Tasmania, and so our season is quite short, so it takes a long time for frost to stop before we can actually get produce into the garden. Here I'm harvesting squash, and I later realized that I think I've harvested this one too early. It is a little bit small. I was thinking that it was a button squash, but when I looked it up, it's an heirloom variety, and I think they're meant to get a lot bigger than that. So now I'm moving on into the kitchen where I am making for the very first time Dutch babies. Have you even heard of Dutch babies? I was watching Becky from Acre Homestead, and she mentioned that she was cooking up Dutch babies, and I was like, excuse me, what is a Dutch baby? I had no idea what she was talking about. I then watched Ruth Ann from Homesteading with the Zimmermans, and she also made a Dutch baby for Christmas morning, but she called it German pancakes. So they are one and the same, I believe. Us here in Australia, well, I speak for myself, but I have never heard of a Dutch baby, or a German pancake, and I have never ever tried them. So I decided, on here you can just see me, I've just used some eggs, and now I'm crushing up the shells so that I can give them to my chooks. I have heard that crushing the shells is better than just giving them the eggshells, because they can associate, they can then try and do that with the eggs after they lay them. So by crushing them up, hopefully they won't realize that they're actually from their eggs and won't associate that, so you won't get eggs being pecked by the chickens. So what I do want to say here though is that I am making this recipe for the very first time, and I have to say that I actually really like this recipe. The kids loved it. It was a hit. I enjoyed it. And I am not always a fan of things that can be eggy. I think that I do have some intolerances to eggs at times. And so I have to be careful with the amount of eggs that I actually eat. And I have a natural aversion to them at times. But in saying that, I actually enjoyed this a lot, and I will definitely be making them again. I do like that I made a single recipe, and that's what I forgot to mention. Ruth Ann actually gave the recipe on her channel, so I'll try and find that video and see if I can link it. If not, just go to her YouTube channel, which I'm sure you guys all know about, and you'll see one where she's making things for Christmas morning, and she makes the German pancakes, Dutch babies there with a caramel sauce. I didn't do that. I just did it with maple syrup. I saw Becky did it with some raspberries, I think, and I'm not sure what else she put on it. I can't quite remember. But what I was saying, I'll get back to, was that this single recipe uses 6 eggs, which I personally really love. I only have 2 chickens, 2 full-size chickens and a silkie, and if you know, you know with the silkie, I am not getting eggs from her. Very rarely do I get a lot of eggs from her, as they're always going broody. And yeah, so I'm not actually getting eggs from the silkie at this point in time. However, the 2 other larger chickens I am pretty much every day. And as I mentioned, I have some aversion to eggs and some intolerances, I believe. So I'm not a big egg eater, and neither are my kids a lot either, to be honest. We don't fry up eggs every morning or have scrambled eggs for breakfast. It's not something that they really want all the time. So I end up quite quickly with a big accumulation of eggs. And so what I do love about this recipe is that it uses 6 eggs in one go. And so I made this 2 days in a row in the end, and you'll see that later in the video. And yeah, I really highly recommend this recipe for using some of those eggs. Now, you just saw me, I showed you a 1 litre milk container. You're going to be wondering, why did I show you that? I had that in the freezer. I was gifted some milk from work for the holidays because, you know, everyone was closing up and they had some in the fridge. So I put that in the freezer, which you can do if you don't know. You can freeze your milk, and then when you need it, you just pull it out, defrost it, and it's good to go. And the way I've had people ask me before, how do you know if it's off or not? Does it, like, how long does it last? I find that it lasts, I reckon usually a good 5 days after being frozen. But just use your nose and your taste. And if it tastes or smells a bit funky, that's when you get rid of it. But yeah, back in the day when, you know, I'm talking 10 years ago, when you used to go to Coles or Woolies and they used to have milk reduced to clear for the next day, they were going out of date for 40 cents and 50 cents, and that I used to stock up and buy a heap of them and throw them in the freezer. Then I always had milk, and it was a cheaper way to buy milk. Now I've seen that these specials, I don't know if you found that, but we don't seem to get those specials anymore. And that's really a shame. And then here I was just showing you, I have some bananas, as you can see, that are on the turn and they're a bit ripe, and my kids won't eat them like that. I don't really either. I like them with a tinge of green. So for us, they're probably gone past what we like to eat them at. So I am just putting them into freezer bags, and I will freeze it up, and then sometime in the future I'll make either banana muffins or a banana cake with them. I was not in the mood to be baking a banana cake today. And yeah, so I just thought, put them in the freezer, peel them, and you just pull them out when you want them and use them in your recipe. Now, I was showing you because that was the first of the first 25, and I actually correctly wrote out 25, which I was really happy with, because you know what it's like when you're writing out the dates and you just, you know, you struggle in the new year to write out the correct year for so long. And then I did it straight up on the first day, and I thought that it was pretty cool that I was preserving something, I guess, on the first of the first. So I was feeling a bit chuffed with that. So anyway, here I'm actually freezing the bananas at this time because I'm waiting for my oven to heat up and preheat. I have mixed the batter, so I do go on tangents, sorry, but the batter was, I think, from memory, 6 eggs, 1 cup of flour, I think it was 1 cup of milk as well, and half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt. I can link the recipe to Ruth Ann's video, and you can go get the recipe from her. So yeah, so I was just waiting for the oven to heat up. Here I'm just giving the chickens some eggshells. I like to put it on the concrete just so I know how much they've eaten with it. There's my little Silky in the middle. And also, if you put it on the grass, sometimes they don't get to eat it because it gets into the dirt and falls down. Okay, so now I'm back in the kitchen. I am showing you something that I made. That is my pot cozy, trivet, I guess you call it. I am here pulling out the butter. I just cut off some butter. I think it's 2 tablespoons of butter to be heated up into this pot. So I'm putting that on there, and I'm adding my batter mixture to it now, and I'm about to put it in the oven. Now, I think it was at 180. I cooked this at 180 degrees anyway. This, I wasn't sure what size pan to use. Ruth Ann made, I think, 4 times the amount, the batch. So she had a really large baking dish. And same with Becky. I have no idea because she didn't put the recipe or any instructions. She just showed that she'd made it. So I didn't know how big of a pan you needed for 1 batch of the mixture. So I had this little one. It, I think, was a bit too small. In Australia, we don't seem to have the exact same Pyrex dishes I think that they can get all the time, or that they use in America. So this is it done. So as you can see, it's a little square one. It's risen up on the sides beautifully. I do think it was a little bit on the small side. The mixture was a little bit undercooked, but I actually liked it. I liked it better than the second day's one, personally. it was a bit more custardy, then the other day was a bit more eggy and a bit drier. So you'll see me in the next video. I do it in a larger Pyrex dish, which is not a full-size baking dish. I don't know what size exactly it is, so I should try and maybe go measure that. But these trivets, I used to knit. I had a knitting business and an Etsy business called Erica Louise Elm. I used to sell to a few shops, but I never made a lot of money hand knitting, obviously. But, you know, the little bits that would eventually come in would usually help. So anyway, I personally just made that. It never sold. I kept it for myself. And actually, I really love it. And I think I might just make another one. But at the moment, it just hangs on the side of my oven with the handle. So I really like it. Anyway, this is me cutting up this into 4 for us to enjoy. And yeah, it looked impressive. I did really enjoy this. But yeah. Anyway, you'll see me here dishing it out to the kids, and I'll show you. We just put a bit of maple syrup on ours, and it's quite thick. So I'm not exactly sure how thick it's meant to be. My daughter is going to school with a German exchange student, so I should get her to ask how thick it usually is meant to be. My son didn't know if he wanted maple syrup on it, so he puts it on the side and then puts a little bit on it. But anyway. It was delicious. We enjoyed it. It was a hit with my kids, and I highly recommend making this up and using up some of your eggs, because we used 12 in 2 days. So that was really, really good. Good. Oscar, come and get it. I'm just coming on to add, if you ever design a kitchen, do not put in the push to open drawers. My landlords have put these in. It's the first time I've had them, and they are terrible. I really, really don't like them. This is the second day, and as you can see, it's a lot thinner. I'm just out here in my back garden. I just need to harvest a few of these zucchinis. I'm just going through giving some plants a quick water before it gets too hot. It's actually like nearly 30 degrees here in Launceston today, which for us is really hot. And I didn't give the plants a water yesterday evening. I got a bit lazy, I guess. I'm tired, so I didn't do it. And I planned to do it this morning, but it's just gotten so hot so quick that I'm just giving the ones that look already wilted a quick water, because I've heard in my scientific studies that watering stressed plants is actually detrimental to the plants. So the ones that are really wilted, I've just given a light water because they were dry. And then tonight I'll come back out and give everything a proper water. So anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick harvest before I get into watering a few of them and take you with me. So over here, I just was out here New Year's Eve, so 4 days ago, and picked my first zucchini off this plant. And now today we have this massive one. Hang on, I'll see if I can get it. It's a bit hard to see with the sunshine. Yeah, there you go. I've got it in frame. This massive one. So I'm going to pick that. Well, it's not massive, but I'm pretty proud of that one. So, camera. So there we go. It's another zucchini. I'm not going to harvest this one. I'm just going to show you how big it's getting already. I'll put the name of it up on the screen. I thought I had button squash, and the one I picked on 4 days ago was actually too small, and I got a bit overexcited. These variety is an heirloom variety, and I can't remember the exact name of it, and so they grow quite a bit bigger. So it's not ready yet. It's still got green tinges, so I will leave that one a bit longer. I'll just show you this one. I noticed this one too on the bottom of the plant, so I've actually got 2 there growing, which is very exciting. I don't think they're quite ready to harvest just yet. So as you can see, these are quite wilted, so I'm going to give them a quick water just to survive through the day, because it's now lunchtime, so it's only going to get a bit warmer. The other plants I'm not going to worry about. I'm going to wait till this afternoon because they're all looking okay. I was just looking at these. I thought these would be ready to harvest. They're early prolific, and I just looked them up online, and they're supposed to be 10 to 15 centimeters long. I think this has still got, it feels really hard. So I thought I might have been harvesting these, but I actually think I might leave them a few more days just to see what they do. But that one's long. Yeah. And this one. So if anyone has an experience with the early prolific ones and when's best to pick them, please let me know, because I'm not 100% certain. I've never grown this variety before. They say 10 to 15 centimeter fruits, but yeah, I'm thinking they still need a few more days. Let me know if I'm wrong though. I would appreciate that. Thanks. So I thought I was getting a bigger harvest than that, because I thought I'd pick a few of the early prolifics, but was not to be. I have a zucchini though, so that's very exciting. So I'm just going to leave you with this shot that I took the other day of some really cool clouds that occurred in our backyard. I thought they were really cool. Anyway, I also wanted to clarify what I said when I said that it's not good to water stressed plants. So what's been found, and maybe I'm wrong because it's been, 10, 15 years since I've been in science, but when plants are looking wilted doesn't necessarily mean that they are water stressed. So quite often, in defense to the sun and the heat of the day, the plants will wilt in order to create a more moist environment under their leaves, because the stomata and gaseous exchange of the carbon dioxide and oxygen and all of that happens usually from underneath the leaf. So by wilting, the plant is actually creating a more moist and humid environment under that leaf. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that the plant is stressed and needs water when you see that. So if in the middle of the day you're seeing that and then you're giving the plant water, what can happen is that the plant leaf will then expand out, and it can actually cause more water loss in the end, because the amount of gaseous exchange and transpiration rate will increase because of the leaf being more open to the elements, the heat, the sun, and all of that. So if that makes sense. So but when you see that wilting, especially like I'm talking in the heat of the day, you don't actually want to go and water your plant, because it can create more stress to the plant and be of more detrimental effect than just leaving it and then watering it in the cool of the night or the evening. So I hope that makes a bit more sense. So usually plants will have water along their root zone in the pot, in amongst the roots and the soil that's trapped in amongst those roots. So there will usually be moisture in there anyway, that they can survive on. It just looks worse than what it actually is. So I hope that makes a bit more sense. And that's why we say, when you water your plants, you should be watering them in the morning or the evening when it's cooler in the day. They have, they're more able to take up that water and use it and not become more stressed as a result of the watering. I don't know if I'm making much sense there. I hope I am. So my point is, don't do what I did. I chose today to water some of those plants that were really wilted because I knew that I had not got to them yesterday and it had been really, really hot. And I knew that the likelihood of the pot being dry was quite high. And for me, the risk of leaving the plants today was greater than giving them the water. So if I had have left them, chances are they would have probably, well, it would have weakened the plant and they could have potentially died because they didn't have enough available water, or at the very least dropped their fruit. So my choice today was to give them a quick water because I knew that I hadn't been out there in time, and that is entirely my fault. My plan, so by the time I got everything done last night, it was like 8 o'clock at night, and it's been taking me an hour to get through and water all of these pots. So I knew that it was 9 o'clock at night, which was then pretty much almost dark here. In northern Tasmania at that time. It doesn't completely go dark in summer till like 9:15, 9:30ish here in summer. So I didn't want to water those plants and then have the water sit in there overnight. So I thought I would get up and do it today, but knowing me, I should have known, because we've been going to bed because we've been on holidays late. So we haven't been going to bed to midnight, 1 a.m. So I've been sleeping in to 9 a.m. And so by the time I woke up, and then I need a coffee and I need to wake up, I can't just jump out of bed and go do stuff. So it was getting late by the time I got out there. It was around 11 o'clock and it was already really warm. So my choice today was to give those plants a bit of a water, and then tonight I'll go back and give them a really deep watering. And so when you're doing container gardening, it's a really good idea to try and find bigger pots than what you need so that the plant has a reservoir of water in the soil. So that's the thing. If you use a really small pot, it is going to dry out really quickly. If you use a bigger pot, then there will be some moisture in the soil, especially mixed up in amongst the root zone. And in a pot, the top of the pot will look dry, but underneath is not always really dry. So another way to check, obviously, is to put your finger down as deep as you can and test what the water's level is like, or the moisture level's like in the soil, which will be, almost 10 centimeters, maybe 7 to 10 centimeters down. So that's a better way to do. But yeah, the recommendations is always watering your plants in the cooler morning and afternoon, not in the middle of the day, because it just stresses the plant out. It increases transpiration rate, and it can stress the plant even more. And I just wanted to explain that a bit more because I wasn't really clear, and you might have thought, what, you're not meant to water wilted plants? Like, what are you talking about? So that was what I wanted to get across. So usually if I've watered the day before and my plants are wilted in the sun in the heat of the day, I won't go out and water them. I don't panic. I just leave it to the evening, and usually you'll see by the evening they'll start to flatten out the leaves again and look better. And that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been creating a more moist environment underneath the leaf to retain water and moisture in the plant. So that's what I just wanted to get across. So if I see that in the middle of the day, usually I don't panic. I just wait to the evening and make sure I give them a really good drink in the evening. So the more that you do that too, you're going to help your plants. If you're panic watering all of the time, when you see them wilted, you're actually going to weaken your plants even more. So it's good to give them a little bit of resilience, and they're adapted to heat and water loss. They are plants. So, quite often they have accommodations to make to try and prevent too much water from being lost. So anyway, that I just wanted to explain that. I hope that's made sense. I hope I've explained that well enough. As I said, maybe the science has changed around that. It has been, 10 to 15 years since I've, worked in science. But I did work in irrigation scheduling and that kind of thing with cotton crops and things like that. So I do know a little bit about that background wise. So anyway, it's your call to make, but that's my recommendations. So I just wanted to explain why I actually went and did that water too, because normally I wouldn't, but it was because I knew that the pot was pretty well probably dry. There should have been some water in amongst, but we're having a 30-degree day amongst the roots, and I didn't think that that water would stay in there for very long. So that's my choice, and that's what I wanted to get across today. I hope that's made sense. I just want to thank you for being here and for listening to me. And I went and saw the phone guy yesterday because my son had dropped his phone and broken it. So I got his replaced, and they have to order in my screen. So I hopefully will have this fixed soon, and then you'll be seeing my face. I'm not sure that that's a positive thing. Yeah, but anyway, so I just want to thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I would love if you could give this a like and subscribe if you enjoyed what I have done and what I've talked about. Yeah, I'd really, really appreciate that. And I just want to thank you for being here today and taking the time to listen to my ramblings and see a bit of what I've done in our Busy Mum homestead. All right, talk soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.